Hi book lovers, and welcome or welcome back. And in this video we're gonna discuss everything that I read in November, and I decided to do it vlog style again because it's just easier for me to remember and capture my feelings towards the books. Because even now, thinking back on my first book that I read this month, I'm like, that has been ages ago. So I hope you enjoyed this way, but definitely let me know in the comments. And before we jump into the vlog part where I talk about all my reads from November, let's talk about the November statistics for this monthly wrap up. And I haven't calculated everything just yet, so you will see them on the screen. I only know that I read 15 books, which is so high for me, but that's also because we have quite a lot of novellas in here and also a few audiobooks. So when you see the page count, I only ever count the pages of the books that I physically read, so I don't include audiobooks, and that's why the number is not that high for like 15 books, if that makes sense. And I would say that overall I did have quite a good reading month, although there were a lot of like mid reads, like a lot of 3 stars, but I'm not really someone who like is too mad about a 3-star read. I had also a 5-star read, so but yeah, very interesting reading month because I read a lot of books that weren't really on my radar, to be honest. Therefore, when it comes to my TBR that I had for November, I also didn't do a great job. I read 2 of the books completely, and then I also started Fuel the Fire, but I haven't finished that one yet. So there is that. However, let's start with reviewing the books now and jump back to the beginning of the month. Oh, but before we jump into that part, actually, very short announcement, because this is gonna come out on the 1st of December. And you might think, oh, you know, this is when I start Bookmas. But no, this is just like still on my regular schedule. And then we're gonna start Bookmas tomorrow, and then from there on I'm gonna post every second day. So you're gonna have 12 videos leading up to Christmas. So the last one will be posted on Christmas, and I am so excited to do Bookmas. Also, oh my god, what a stressful time. A very joyful time, but also super stressful. So I hope you will enjoy the videos, and definitely subscribe to not miss any of the videos. And yeah, after this one, I will see you already tomorrow. But first, keep on watching for, you know, my November wrap up and what I read this month. Hello, I'm here to talk about the first book I finished in November. Crazy to say that we're already in November. The first book I finished is Cross the Line by Simone Soltani. I hope I'm saying her name right. We have brother's best friend and our main character, Willow, who wants to become like a sports marketing person, and she just finished university. Dev, who's her brother's best friend, right now has a very bad reputation, and he's like, can you come and fix my image please and be my social media manager? So they strike up the plan to do this for a couple of months. The only problem is though that Willow has always had a crush on Dev. And also, Dev has feelings for her because a year ago they already kissed, and they decided it was a mistake, they're not gonna do it again because of some situation and because he's her brother's best friend. But a situation like that already sounds like chaos, and you get that in here. And I think this was a very cute book. I gave this 3 stars. I don't think this was anything special, and I would also say you definitely have to like F1 to enjoy this book because there's a lot about F1 talk in here. And then also I started to question myself whether I even like the brother's best friend trope, because I usually do, but lately they didn't really hit because I don't like when that is the only reason really for a couple not to get together. And by the end of the day, you know, you're your own people, and it's just weird for me that the siblings would be that invested. I didn't feel any tension, to be honest, because even though this was more of a slow burn, it kind of read like insta love. They basically both establish at the very beginning that they have feelings for each other. So we start at a point where they already like each other, and then it just takes forever for them to get together. And the reasons why they won't get together are just a bit silly. If you're looking for an F1 romance, I think this one is still good. I did really enjoy the guy and how open he was about his feelings towards Willow. And in general, if you want a book without miscommunication, then I think this one was also really good because they were so honest about their feelings. So yeah, this was the first book of the month. I finished my next book for the month, and it's also gonna be in one of the reading vlogs, so I won't go into too much detail, but I read a classic. I read 1984 by George Orwell, and I didn't really pick it myself. We read that for our book club that I have with my girlfriends, but I'm actually quite glad that I got to read this, because if it weren't for the book club, I don't think I would have picked this one up. But it is a classic that I feel like everyone kind of knows so I should as well. And I was surprised that I enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would. I don't really know how to rate this because it is so different from what I usually read. I would probably give it, I don't know, something between like a 3 and a 4 star, maybe a 3.5 then. That seems accurate. But yeah, I enjoyed this a lot more, but I also read this through an audiobook and I really enjoyed the narrator. I listened to it in German because I like the narrator so much, and well, he's German, and I think that had a lot to do with why I enjoyed it as much as I did. So yeah, I'm very happy that I can knock this one off and say that I read 1984, because I feel like it's just a book that you should have read at some point in your life. I read Normal People by Sally Rooney, and this book surprised me so much. This was actually one of the 24 books I wanted to read for 2024. When I picked it up, I didn't expect to like it, and I wasn't even very excited to read it. And the first 2 pages, totally confused, because Sally Rooney's writing is so different from your normal writing. Like, you don't really have the quotation marks, and you don't have dialogue. So it took me a bit to get used to that. But I'm not kidding you, 2 pages I was confused, but by the 3rd page I was hooked. I enjoyed this so much. I think what was just so good and almost bingeable about this book is that you really only focused on these 2 people and their connection, and anything that wasn't developing their relationship or their dynamic, we didn't get to see it. And whenever they didn't talk for a while, we would just skip in time until they interact again, and we quickly get caught up on what happened in between. So this felt super fast paced, which I really enjoyed. I don't think that this book is for everyone. I can totally see going into this book and you don't connect with anything, you don't connect with the writing, and you just really don't enjoy this book. I guess you just have to see and try for yourself if this is for you. But I guess if you really like character-driven stories and almost more of character studies, then you would really enjoy this. I really like the representation of mental health and not understanding everything. Sometimes I found it also difficult to trust the narrators, and there are definitely elements in here that I usually wouldn't like, but it just worked in this book. I would give this a 4.5 star. I thought it could be a potential 5 star, but I think why it's not is that at the end I didn't love the whole miscommunication thing. A few things were just really told and not shown, and I would have loved to see that more. And also, I didn't love the ending. I thought that all came very abrupt. I feel like there should be a second book. I didn't get the satisfaction of this story has ended. It is done. It's very open, and I hate that, but that's really just me. I think this is also a book that is very great to reread at some point, and I think you can very easily skim over this book and read it more on a surface level and still enjoy it. And I think you can also read this book and really dive in and analyze a lot of things. So if that sounds something you would enjoy, I say totally go for it. I found a 5-star read, guys, and I feel like it's been ages since I had a 5-star read. This just insane feeling about a book. I thought it would be good. I expected it to be good, but I didn't think I would enjoy it that much. And it's The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I had the series on my radar for so long, and I was so intrigued by the concept that this was always described as Criminal Minds, but make it YA. The only thing why I was a bit hesitant going into this series is that I read The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I liked it, but I didn't really love it. I was really not obsessed with it. And also, hated the love triangle there, and I'm just really not a person that enjoys love triangle at all. And I knew that there was a slight love triangle in here as well, and yeah, I'm always scared to be on the losing team. Instantly when this person came on, I was okay, I'm Team Dean. Even though I really liked Michael at the beginning, I don't know why. I was just Team Dean. So yes, I will be devastated if it doesn't turn out the way I want it to be. But I also liked that it didn't focus too much on it, and I actually really just enjoyed the case and the story in itself. And this gave me heart race feeling. I was so invested in the story, and also the plot twists really got me. And I think this was an amazing start to the series. I want to read the whole series, and I don't really have the time to read these books right now because I have so many other books. And having that said, I can also already tell you that I did read and finish the second one this morning, so I'm definitely on my naturals journey. Quickly to like tell you what these books are about. So there's a continuation of like the whole story. So you have to start with the first one, and as I said, this is basically Criminal Minds but YA. So you have these teenagers, they're all 17 and they're considered naturals because they have like very talented gifts because of more or less like a very tragic past, that they're either very good at reading people's emotions or detecting lies. So the FBI actually recruits them to go through cold cases, and they have to like figure out whether they can see something that the other agents didn't see. There are 5 naturals living together, and you have a little bit of love stories there as well. And these books are very, very fast paced because the chapters are short and you just want to know what's going on. The second book I also definitely enjoyed. I think I would give this, I don't know, maybe a 4 or 4.5 star. I didn't like it as much as the first one. I really want these 5 naturals to feel like, you know, the best found family, and I just didn't get it quite yet in that book. Then I wanted more love, not gonna lie, even though I hate like love triangle and all that. This one definitely left me wanting more. And also in terms of like the overall plot in here, I really liked that we got more of Dean's backstory with this book, but I don't know why, because like the plot twists in here were also really good, but they didn't get me as much as in the first one. So overall, I just loved the first one a little bit more. It was a little bit more thrilling. I already got the third one. I haven't read this one yet. I definitely have a feeling that this could be a 5-star series, and I am just so stoked about that. Hi guys, I actually just came home from a long car ride, and you know what? Long car rides call for audiobooks, and I listened to Ellie Hazelwood's audiobook. I think it's called Two Can Play, and I believe it's only an audiobook actually, so there is not a physical version of this book to read. I might be wrong. So obviously, with like Ellie Hazelwood kind of being one of my favorite authors by now, I thought I should check it out as well. Audiobooks are definitely not my preference, so sometimes I find it actually a bit more difficult to kind of rate it on my listening experience. However, I think it was a very sweet story and also very Hazelwood-esque. What I really like about her books is that she definitely has her own voice, and I like how she creates these worlds where you learn so much about something, but also not in a way where it's annoying. In Two Can Play, we follow 2 game designers, and again, I'm not a gamer myself, so it's something I usually don't really have any interest in, but it was still very nice to like kind of get a glimpse of that world. The plot is basically that we have these 2 smaller businesses, and they're being asked by a big company to work together on a new game. But the problem is these 2 small businesses, they have history. A lot of the employees don't like each other, and also our main 2 characters seem to not really get along, and there's been a bit of a history. But because they have to work together, the big company that wants to hire them has the grand idea to just put them all together in like a big cabin, I guess, and kind of force them to have a bonding experience. If you like boy obsessed or boy falls harder, boy falls first, then definitely Ellie Hazelwood's books are for you. And it's not something that I hate, but I prefer more of a balance, and I feel like also in this book that we had definitely boy falls harder, and sometimes I'm just not the biggest fan of that. And I don't know, I would probably rate this overall a 3-star. I would definitely recommend, if you like Ellie Hazelwood, then I don't think you will be disappointed by this book. And it's also, I think, only like 4 or 5 hours long. And what I kind of liked about this length is that this kind of felt like a whole book, but without the 3rd act breakup and then them making up again. And yeah, just a very nice, cute romance, and I'm glad that I listened to this one on my car ride. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of a bigger update because I haven't updated you on my last few reads. And that's also because first I read the Under the Mistletoe Novellas collection, and since they're like very short novellas, I didn't want to update you after each one. But these are basically standalone novellas that a few authors have written, and you kind of can try out an author where you don't have to commit to a whole book. And these were just really, you know, cute little novellas for Christmas, and I don't really think I have much to say about these. They were so short. If you don't want to commit to a whole book for Christmas, but you still want to read something for the season, I think a novella is a very, very great way to read something seasonal. However, I have to shoot out one of those novellas because one of them was standing out so much, and that is Ellie Hazelwood's novella. And oh my goodness, that was such a good novella. Like, I need a book for that couple. I don't know if it was also just a bunch of tropes that I really liked, but it was so good. Like, for being a very short novella, I feel like she gave us a lot. But you basically have these two people that have known each other literally from birth, but she's actually the older one, and I always love when there's an age gap where she's actually the older one. She's been best friends with his sisters, and they always kind of had a connection. And what I really liked about the novella is that it went back in time quite often to like tell us about their relationship and their like connection, and therefore I feel like you were able to connect more with the characters. And the guy was so gone for the girl, but in a way that I just really liked. Really, if you read one of those novellas, please read the one by Ellie Hazelwood. That was so amazing. Then I also have two other books that I want to give you my thoughts of. And I also read them both in reading vlogs. One of them is already out, and I think the other one will be a while, but that's why I'm not going to go into too much depth. I can link the videos down below. The first one I have here is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, and I read this during our cabin weekend with the book girlies. The vlog is already out. Guys, I loved that weekend so much, and I think also the vlog captured it so well. And we actually did like a book swap for it, so we all drew a name, and then we got that person a book they didn't know about, and they would read it for the weekend. And I got the book A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross because my friend knew that I really liked the Divine Rivals duology, and I knew that this book existed, but I didn't know anything about it, and therefore I went blindly into the book, and that's usually my favorite way. However, with this book, this is fantasy and it's Scottish folklore, but I didn't know that going in, and it was so confusing at the beginning. Like, the language they used, I didn't really understand some of the words, and at some point it like made click because the words really reminded me of Outlander, and that's how I got the conclusion that this is Scottish folklore. And the story focuses on a few people, so you have multiple POV, and you have at the beginning Jack, who comes home to his home island where he kind of was banned 10 years ago, and he's not too eager to go back, but he was summoned, and that is because little girls have gone missing and they don't really know why or where they are, what happened with them, and they think that it has something to do with the spirits on this island, and they hope that Jack is able to help because he's a musician and therefore he can play for the spirits so they can talk to them about the missing girls. This book was actually perfect for the cabin weekend because it's such a like cozy atmosphere, but don't go in here expecting a lot of romance. It's such a small side story that if you want romantasy, I wouldn't recommend this. I would recommend this if you want cozy fantasy and you really enjoy Rebecca Ross writing, because even though it was not exactly like Divine Rivals, you can tell that Rebecca Ross is very good at storytelling, is a bit more sophisticated with her writing. And even though I think her writing is great, I didn't really connect with any of these characters. This is also told in a third person, and I think it was kind of deliberate not to be too emotionally attached to any of these characters. Like, this kind of felt more like a story that you read, but not a character-driven plot, and that's usually what I like, so that is just why I gave this a 3-star, and it wasn't anything higher. Not that this was bad, it was just not something I would usually really gravitate towards. This overall is very slow, and I think that's why I also consider this more of like a cozy read, because the pacing is not quick and there's not a lot of like action going on. It's more of like an atmospherical read. The last book that I finished is Powerless by Elsie Silver. This is part of the Chestnut Spring series. This is the third one, and I was so happy to be back with the series. Willa and Kate from Heartless, which is the second book, stole my heart this year. They are still like one of my absolute favorite couples, and not gonna lie, every time they were mentioned in here, like, that was a highlight. Like, I love them so much, and I think because the last book in the series was a 5-star read and it was so good that my expectations weren't even that high, because I didn't expect another couple to be on that level, but therefore I was also a little bit less excited to go into the next one. And also the plot just wasn't my favorite. You follow Jasper and Sloan, and Jasper is kind of the adopted brother to the Edens family, and Sloan is the cousin of the Edens brothers, so they're not related, but they're kind of like childhood friends. If you like the childhood best friends to lovers trope, then I think you would really enjoy this book. This also has professional hockey player and ballerina, if you enjoy that, and a road trip. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about the plot itself because I don't want to spoil anything, but I didn't really like the plot. I feel like it almost took away from them as a couple, and tension was something that I think this book really lacked, because I don't like when basically both the characters establish from the very beginning that they already feel something for the other person. Because then I'm like, you could literally just talk at the very beginning and then the book would be over. And I didn't really understand the hesitation from both of them, but especially from Sloan at some point. And I think therefore this one felt a bit more dragged out to me. However, I do really like Elsie Silver's writing style. I think it is super easy and quick to go through. And the spice also surprised me with this book. This book also made me smile and laugh. And I also love the text messages within this group. And I also kind of want to go back to Elsie Silver's first book series, because the characters were mentioned here and you could really feel the found family there, and that's one of my favorite things. And I just love when authors like include all their characters in one universe and you see them pop up in different books. And as I said at the beginning, Willa and Kate definitely made this book so much better. Like, I just love them so much. But also Theo and Summer, I think, are gonna be a big competition to being one of my favorite couples coming out of this series. And even though this wasn't bad, this just wasn't my favorite, I would give this 3-star, and I can definitely see why other people absolutely love this book. But for me, this was an easy and quick read that I don't really will think a lot about afterwards. Oh, hi guys, it's so nice that you're still here. It's me from the beginning. I actually have 2 more books that I haven't updated you guys on, so I thought I would do that just now. And the first one is the Christmas novella Mighty Summer Darling by the Lauren Asher, also known as one of my favorite authors. And I was so excited and happy when I saw that she would come out with a Christmas novella. Like, I just love Lauren Asher's writing so much, and her novellas, like, this is a small book, you know. There are so many other novellas that I read this month, and those novellas you could read in like an hour or 2. But this novella felt like a book, and that's really what I loved about this. Because, I mean, novellas are kind of nice if you want like something very quick and easy, especially for like a seasonal read. However, I don't really get a lot out of novellas. But Lauren Asher, she did it. Even her author's note I thought was so funny, because she's known to write like very long books, especially her last couple of releases were quite thick, and she kind of challenged herself with this one to write shorter stories, but even her novella gets longer. But to me, this was the perfect Christmas novella. I definitely recommend this. I would give this 4 stars. This is also set in Lake Wisteria, which is the same setting actually as her last 3 books, but you really don't need to read them to understand this book. I kind of thought it was a bit sad, because since we are at the same place, I would have loved to see more of the other characters. And in this one, you follow Catalina and Luke, and Catalina's sister is marrying Catalina's ex-boyfriend. They just went on a couple of dates, and Luke is the ex-boyfriend's best friend. Luke and Catalina have to spend a lot of time together because they're the best man and the equivalent to that is the best woman, bride, maid of honor for the bride, Catalina's sister. Catalina kind of has this like persona that she is an ice queen. She's not very emotional and very unlike her family. And you know, those are my favorite kind of characters. So I really like Catalina, but I also loved Luke. Luke is a doctor and Catalina is a traveling nurse. And something that I really like about like Lauren Asher's couples is that they always find like their own language or something, you know, just those 2 characters connect. And I think especially with the storyline that Catalina's sister was marrying her ex, you know, sometimes it's not that someone is a bad person, it's just that you don't click on that way. Like, you're good friends maybe, but nothing romance-wise would ever really blossom. And I think she did a great job in showing this here. And yeah, I absolutely adored Catalina and Luke. Out of all the Christmas novellas I read this month, I would highly recommend this one and the one from Under the Mistletoe collection by Ellie Hazelwood. However, that was not my last read actually, because I also listened to A Game of Fates by Scarlett Sinclair, and this is a series, part of the whole Persephone and Hades retelling. And you have the whole series out of Persephone's POV, where it starts with A Touch of Darkness. And I started that series last month and really enjoyed my time. I read the first 2 books, and I read that comment where it said that there is another series out that basically follows the same story, but out of Hades' POV. That person also said that you should really read Hades' POV because it includes other things that you don't see in Persephone POVs, and you wouldn't really enjoy, especially the last book, if you don't get that context as well. So I, of course, took it upon myself to do just that. I don't really love following one couple for multiple books, so 4 books in one series is already a lot, but make it 8 and I'm like, no. But I found them on Audible for free actually, so I started listening to the first one from Hades' perspective, and it follows the exact same timeline than the first book, A Touch of Darkness. And let me ask the question, why is it not all in just one book? Like, I did not really care for his POV. Like, I would give this a 3-star. Yeah, it's there, it's fine. But I mean, obviously I knew what was going on, and I agree with the statement that there's definitely information you get that you wouldn't have otherwise. I mean, I only read the first few books now, so I can't really tell you if it's necessary to read all of them, but I just think that this is so unnecessary. I mean, obviously, if you love the couple and if you love the story, then wow, you're a lucky girl because you got 8 whole books. But for someone who likes the series, I think 4 books are totally fine, more than enough. And I just don't understand why we just don't have one book that might be even a little longer, but you know, you have 2 POVs in that one book, and you don't need every single scene in 2 POVs. Like, I feel like that is the creator's choice, what scene you want to tell from what POV. I am on this journey now and I will continue, but I'm not a fan and I think it is unnecessary, so take that with whatever you want. At the very end, I will let you know if I agree, if you have to read both series. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you're still here until the very end. I know this was a little bit of a bigger wrap up, but I also read a little bit more. I hope you enjoyed this, especially the vlog style part. So let me definitely know if you like this style. And as I said at the beginning, this is gonna come out the 1st of December, but this is not gonna be the first official Bookmas video. That's gonna come out tomorrow, so have a look out for that. Definitely subscribe for Bookmas. I have so many fun videos planned, and yeah, I just hope you have a lovely day. Give this video a like and also subscribe for more bookish content, and I'll see you guys in my next video, so tomorrow. Bye!